It's me, E. Tally, with.
Coach B. That's what I
And are
mean, Coach
you?
B.
Here we go. We got to start over. We got to start over. Here we go. Do it again. Do it
What'd you
again. Do
say?
it again.
I thought you say, oh, the uncommon approach. I think he's going to
No, I
introduce.
was awake. As soon as you say something, I'm awake. If you just want to say Coach B, that's cool. I'll catch on. I'll catch on. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We are back at it again. It's your boy E. Tally with.
I'm going to call myself Mr. Uncommon. After last night's call with Coach Wright, man, I am Mr. Uncommon in the world of exposure. And I'm going to stay uncommon.
And that's Coach V. And are you ready for the uncommon approach? Take it away, Coach.
Yeah, we've been talking. I appreciate you having me again. It's perfect timing. Last night, I want to, show the audience. I mean, I'm blessed. I mean, relationship-wise, I'm blessed to have relationships across the board. And one of the things I do for kids that I work with is, man, they get a lot of opinions. So over 6 weeks in the fall, man, I'll get 6 different speakers and coaches to talk directly to players that I'm working with. Parents and players have opportunities to ask questions. I kind of prep them on questions that are good, not asking, hey, well, how do I play D1? Like, ask questions that are red flag, green flags that are going to increase your knowledge. And last night's speaker, I want to kind of show him today was Coach Chris Wright, longtime friend of mine, coached against him. And man, I'll just tell you, they heard from one of the best, Coach Wright. You can see this, man. He was a couple of years ago. He turned around Langston University from 1-27 to 31-3. That's the largest turnaround in college basketball history at any level, and history, if they look it up. And since then, he's been to 2 straight Final Fours, culminating last year where they lost by a basket for the national championship, and he was starting the journey again. And man, he took about 45 minutes out to speak to players, and then about 15 minutes for Q&A. And again, I want to thank him, and I want to thank all the college coaches that work fall camps for me of what they're trying to do to help Uncommon grow and why they're trying to help Uncommon grow. And this is the second part. Now that camps are over, these guys get 6 weeks of face-to-face opportunities to really understand. It's like getting prepared for the test before you have to take it. Too many guys wait till the spring and they show up on test day. So Uncommon has a lot of layers that I don't think folks understand, and that's one of them. And Coach Wright gave those parents and players some real nuggets today that I want to kind of hit on, at least certain portions of them for this audience.
And that's what the whole purpose of this, again, utilizing the resources that we have in the city. It's too often that we're so fast to go to Dallas and go to Houston and Austin to seek the things that we have right here. And I believe you are a great resource for us here in the city and what you're doing. And again, there are a lot of recruiting tools out here that are great that you can utilize. But for me, knowing you and knowing what you're doing for the city, I think we need to expose that a little bit more, bring more exposure to you trying to help out and what you do bring to the table. So a player doesn't have to go to a Dallas or Houston to get their exposure for certain times of the year, that they can just get it right there, being a client of one of yours and just making sure you guide them on the right path. Because again, like I always ask everybody, if you pick up the phone and you call the person that's helping you with your recruitment, will they answer you back? You're one of the few people that I know that will either text me back, let me know, hey, I'm on a call right now, so I'll call you back and you will, engage with me. So I think that's important. So that's what I want to bring to the audience and make sure that resource is there for us.
I appreciate that. And again, I going to Chris Wright, we're going to hit a bullet point straight from him, not me today. I think I'm going to give some nuggets, but not all. My players have direct access to a lot of that in the fall. But for me, and Coach Wright said it best, man, we're not for everybody, man. He's trying to win national championships, and he's proven, consistently to put himself in position to do that no matter where he's been. If you really research Coach Wright, who spoke to our kids. On the flip side, which is still part of the grind, and we'll talk about that later at the SA camp, Uncommon ain't for everybody. But it ain't for everybody. I mean, but it's 100% successful for those that are serious about maximizing their potential and having a real shot to play college basketball and it's something they really love. I don't think there's a better program designed or results of the kids that have come through San Antonio. But when I say that, I also tell parents, man, if Johnny's not in the gym, and Coach Wright said, if you're not at least 2 hours outside of your mandatory practice, and that's why I said uncommonly for, working on your game and working on your craft, you probably don't look, you're not trying to play college. You shouldn't even pay for exposure anywhere. I mean, and for me, he said uncommon. So when we look at in the spring for leads and players, and those guys are the more serious, dedicated ones. So it is a balance, number wise, business wise. But if you're going to say you're serious, absolutely, you should give uncommon a chance because there's a lot of layers that have been 100% proven for the 24 San Antonio players that have actually worked with me and not some recruiting service in Chicago or whatever. 22 are in school on full rides. I'm not going to name them, but I wrote them down before this deal. That's 24 kids that in San Antonio is pretty big. So I want to encourage the ones that are serious, like they want to play college basketball. They're willing to put in the work to give Uncommon a much higher chance before you go elsewhere when it comes to recruiting resources and just see what the program's really about.
And that's why I want to talk a little bit about yesterday. You kicked off your first episode inside the mind of a college coach, and you started with Coach Wright there. So let's talk about what's expected on the phone call. What does a player tend to get from the Nuggets, and actually have the one-on-ones with you guys? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I do this 6-part series after I finish camps because it's a great lead into, give these kids. I can start high school practice tomorrow. Now, when they start to really, really tip it off going into break and really start to get to, they should have enough knowledge. So everything I do has a plan. So I don't run camps anymore. So it's an extension of my camps. It's a preparation tool. So I think over the next 6 weeks, one thing last year and this year, about 55% of the content, all coaches are different style of play, is the same exact verbiage. The reason I say you want to get inside the mind of a college coach is because a lot of people give you an opinion, and I'm going to be, I say, if they've never signed a player in their life, or that there's different lanes, then what do they really understand about the process? So if I do this for players, then they're going to hear directly from some of the best in the business on how to increase their recruitment outside of their game now and elevating their game. So a couple of things about Chris Wright. We already mentioned he was part of the biggest turnaround. He was also NABC Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year last year at all levels. So they got some real good nuggets. And I think I want to start, with position. I asked them with the kids on board and the kids on the call last night, give me something that, college level point guards, must do when you're recruiting. And for you point guards out there, they said 3 things, period. I mean, that's really for almost 90% of coaches, but especially for us, is they better be vocal. I mean, really vocal. And I'm talking about practice when we're evaluating vocal. They got to be second thing is, which I thought was interesting, he says, man, they got to be the toughest player on the team. I'm going to hold them accountable when a set goes wrong. If you can't hold accountability in high school in a huddle, I'm holding them accountable for Bobby's mistake. He's my point guard. They got to know my stuff. They got to trust him when we get to the second semester, which I thought was great. And then the last one, I think, he said was the hardest worker. We get down to one scholarship, so your point guards need to listen, and we go to these gyms. You're going to start seeing coaches go to high school gyms, point guards, which I was the same way. They need to be the hardest worker in the gym. I mean, they've got to be the hardest worker. I mean, they're your quarterback. They got to be an extension of what I believe in. And, having said that, I may move a little bit because the sun's beaming on me, Coach. But I think that's just great insight for point guards that are, trying to get recruited. And it's been brutally hard for me to get kids to understand in camps. You're not vocal in the showcase. You can hide that in the showcase with 300 people. And he talked about that. He said with Coach V, he said he's just using that experience to put him in position, not to hurt you, to help you. And you get to hear from the NABC. So shooters, he said, conditioning and shooters. I said, well, can you define that, coach? Define shooter. What do you mean by conditioning? Because that's a broad word. He said, oh, their first 4 trips. If I go watch a shooter, their first 4 trips, if one of the 4 trips they don't sprint, they ain't taking care of their body. They ain't in condition enough. I mean, they'll get my ass. I mean, they can shoot the ball in high school. They're an elite shooter, but nah. I mean, I just watched the first 4 trips. So shooters, sprinting the lanes, moving out the basketball, it's looked at. You can knock down 8 for 8 shots. Think about the layer behind that inside of the mind of a college coach. You're getting real great insight through the program as well as being promoted. I mean, it is a college prep program with athlete marketing services, not a recruiting service. I always say recruiting service don't give a shit if you're running hard or playing hard. I do. So, and that's what coach says, not for everybody. And so, but I'm proud of the kids that turn it around and come and fight and keep and grow and take advantage of all these layers. And I'm happy when I see them get that offer. So finally, he said forwards, man, it's real easy with forwards, man. If scoring that, they better be the best rebounder and the best defender on their team. And I'm talking about like at an elite level. Like they better help defend, be able to show and help. I mean, and you know, if they can score great. I mean, of course, we're looking for the best talent, but those 2 they have to have first off. So you know, and I think those are great things as far as position tips for kids out there that you're going to listen to the show or however you're going to splice it, coach.
So,
and again, I quote that from Chris Wright. I'm quoting that from
right.
Chris Wright last night on the call, taking the best things he said.
So what were some other questions or some other feedback from the players real quick, and then we'll wrap it up and go to the next topic, in reference that the players got that again, that an average guy trying to get looked at or trying to understand what must be taken serious in reference to the recruiting process?
And again, this is great, guys. I want you to know again, this information is not from me. This information was given to my players last night, amongst other tips and other things that the kids can do. And I can go straight to the parents and players kind of deal. A couple of things about parents. I said, give me 2 red flags for parents. And so education's education. And Coach Wright said, well, one thing is on visits, and these parents need to understand that because we were like that and I was like that when we met in the boardroom. I mean, sometimes we're asking questions on purpose when it gets down to, if you're in our top 3, we're asking questions on purpose to see how your answers. If you answer it wrong, like an interview, then I don't care how talented you are. I mean, you got to understand that offer's probably not there. You probably moved out. So my whole point is trying to help kids move up a board with these, you know, this series. And so for parents, he said, we purposely kind of ask, and without being straight up, you know, about their last coach and position, you know, just small talk. And if they say anything about their coach playing them out of position or last coach wasn't this, or he said, we're going to finish the visit, but they're done. We're not offering him. And parents didn't understand. There's rules at the next level where, and I learned this from better coaches, one of the best coaches I work for, but there's rules. So it's hard for coaches. When you first go to school, whether you're a transfer portal kid or whether you're a senior, they only get a certain amount of hours legally with your players. So 70% of the week, Coach Wright knows he's talking to somebody. So if they hear that kid's, he could be telling any lie, any BS back home because he ain't, you know, he's mustering through. He's not been able to adjust. It's different. So they got to know who they're talking to during that 70% until they really get them trusting and really develop a relationship. So that goes hand in hand. The other thing with parents, he said, if it's a live in-person scout, we really want them and we fly or we go to a game, we try to kind of figure out, we'll talk to them, introduce and all that. We'll kind of sit away from them. And man, we watch the kid closely. At that point, we've done their research, but we just want to see, you know, how the parent interacts throughout the game. As he yelling about a teammate not passing the ball, anything that, again, for a parent to understand that's like against the teammate. He said that very closely. If it's yelling at another teammate that didn't give it up or made a mistake or something like that, he said, we're not offering. He said, I've left games at halftime. on kids we were about to offer. I just think that's real. It's true. And it's great for parents to know that. And, you know, if that's what they're inspiring, they are a big part of the process, or the voice above, I call it. Who's the voice above? That's what we always had to find when I was a coordinator. And that means who they're going to talk to the most. It could be Coach Talley. It could be a guardian. Those kids that could be a grandma. Who's the voice above? It could be a brother. All kids have different situations. Players, two things. This is not rocket science again, but the players got to hear. I said, give them one thing on a visit, coach. That's a red flag for you guys. If you're at a kid that you're ready to offer. I'm talking about a kid that's unofficial. On an official visit that you're ready to offer Langston University. And I think, again, it's spot on, and it's coming from what I think is one of the best in the country right now at any level. He said, Coach, when I tell my assistants, I mean, when they're walking around campus, if they're not engaged or get on their phone, we're not recruiting. We're engaged in the film session. We're engaged in being there. We're engaged in every aspect of that kid. If they're not engaged walking around campus and on the phone and all that, and I interject, I said, you know, I do that before camps. Take your damn hat off, take your earrings out, get you. I said, because I know that helps them. But they said that's uncommon for everybody. It's field gyms. There are field gyms, and I think it's a disservice. All I'm doing is reiterating to players that are serious, giving them. You don't want to stand out for your tire, but also that's true. He just told them if he's on phones on a visit while they're doing a campus tour, he said we don't recruit him. I said we're trying to win, we're trying to get so, and we don't. I said we got a certain amount of money, and I think kids need to understand that you need to be engaged on visits. You need to ask good questions. I always said you're interviewing them too. I always liked the kid that knew about our business department, not just hooping, that asked questions about the community. That kid's really engaged. I really moved him up, and we spoke a little bit more about that with the kids last night. The other thing, players, he said, I said, what about when you watch them in a game or maybe just to practice or even select basketball? And he just said, kind of same thing, coach. Throughout the entire game, man, we already know if they're getting a player, if we're going to be there recruiting them. I'm just looking at how engaged they are. And every practice drill and everything in the huddle, if it's a game, but in practice, in every drill and shooting warm-ups. He said, again, that's what we're doing, shoot warm-ups. I try to see how they look under fatigue. If you've been on my camp, we started with a kind of a skills challenge. And the guys that get offers, man, they're you can't blame them. It's not, some guys run from it. They're doing enough work to keep themselves engaged, to play under duress, to play while they're tired. The same thing coach said about looking for a kid on a recruiting visit, or if he goes to practice, I want to see him in shooting drills. I want to see if he's going for. I want to see if he's engaged. Not when they get to like the 5-on-5 practice, the very first drill. And if he's engaged and going, man, we are staying on him. And then one story about the Oklahoma City freshman, he said they're about to sign a kid this year, a true freshman. He told these kids last night, and a couple of weeks into the season, forget why or how. You got to know these guys are human beings. Don't even know. He said he transferred schools. He said we didn't even research. He said we rescinded the offer that day that he transferred. And that may not be across the board. There could be situations, reason, and family. But in general, man, kids have to be careful and the select road and beyond of not sticking with it. Do your research. That's fine if you're going to leave in the summer. But it really happens in select basketball more where they move team. You're not getting recruited. I don't care if you go to EYBL events. And that's the red flag for everybody in the gym. I mean, they can't take a chance. So I tell kids, research the program you want to play for in the summer really hard. Make sure it's good for you. Then stick with it. Stick with it to increase your recruitment. Be a reason they're winning. Don't jump ship and go to this team because they look good. Research that before. Find you a good fit for that too.
Yeah. And that's the, unfortunately the society we live in right now, and everybody wants to go to the sexy looking thing versus fight a little bit and have a little adversity and overcome it and win and be a winner. But hey, so anything
and I'm okay
else?
with that. And I tell people, then don't pay for exposure. Parents, if Johnny's just going to basketball practice and beyond, let be a basketball player. He don't want to play college. I mean, what do you don't, why are you comparing to say 2,800? You know, your own child. I mean, if he's going to practice and back, that's okay. He's a high school basketball player. That's a all district kid. You don't need to pay for that. Pay for training, pay for girlfriend, pay for something that the kid is going to benefit for. Too many people pay, they go right to Z. My program is different, but it's been proven because we don't go to Z. We do a lot of things behind the scenes early to get them in prepared and to get them in position to secure an offer. So it's for that dedicated kid, but they have a true roadmap. They have a lot of insight. We break down film behind the scenes. Man, they get everything that I did at college to get them prepared before I promote them. But that's what I mean. It's not for everybody from that standpoint, but you don't have to waste money.
And that's the whole thing about it all. We want to make sure we educate people on this a serious program that's looking for serious kids that want to get the opportunity to take the uncommon approach. So anything else you guys learned from Coach Wright, or you want to kind of make sure?
I think these things are very, very good. I went to watch him in the finals. I've never actually watched him coach as a head coach.
Right.
He was an assistant when I was still coaching and coming up. But I knew, workers are workers. I'm going to put it that way. Players, you got to understand workers. So I said, man, I'm just interested in what your practice is like, because this team, man, you can't fake toughness. You can't fake toughness. Like, so even with the high school kids I'm working out with the college prep workout, I try to see them, push them mentally to their breaking point so they can learn one way or the other. Because they're all trying to play college. But he said, man, in practice, kind of like what we want to recruit, man, every day we're going to defend at a high level. And you can't have any defensive mistakes. I mean, we just don't allow them. If we allow them, we're going to get beat. You can't fake it or talk about it. He said, that's one of our identities. I mean, and we held people to 58 points a game last year. I was number one in the country. So that's one of their identities, I guess. So that kind of goes along with fit. I mean, his fit is different than mine. And he said, energy and vocal. If you're silent and unengaged in practice, he said, man, we're not dependent on you. In fact, he said, I left my best player home. They scrimmaged this weekend. And he said, I left my best player home from last year because it's a new year. The last two practices before the scrimmage. So I'm hoping he makes the right decision, but he wasn't engaged. He wasn't vocal. He was, and so we left him home. And when I got back from the trip, I was hoping he's still in school, but I mean, he's going to have to re-engage for the process. For a high school kid listening to that, when it gets bad, if you ain't got that first call, focus on the process. Process is going to lead. You can't just jump ship, especially if you're an elite varsity player and that's really your dream. It may take longer. It's taking longer for a lot of kids. The other thing is, I said, well, how do you develop toughness? These kids need to understand. He said, every day I try to push them past their breaking point. And I mean, that's how you start to learn how to play past that breaking point. So I say, get it. I only do 1 day a week workouts with these kids. And I tell them, nobody gives a shit if you're out of condition, if your effort's bad. That's between you and you. I mean, the guys that are doing stuff outside of practice, they want to play college. I'm giving them things after each workout, coach, to do during the week. You don't have to pay me at that. That's college level workouts at their position. Some guys I can tell doing it, some aren't. But I said the best thing you did, and these kids need to hear, and I'll end on this so we can move about to the San Antonio camp. I said, I went to watch him coach in the championship game of the Senior Athletic Conference after a Dallas camp. And I'm watching really close because I'm an old coach and I want to know how's this guy so good every year. Because I know how I was when I was coach. I was a nervous wreck. I mean, I just was too afraid to play against guys like that and my guys not be prepared. And he said, the best player in the year, the player that I think it was player of the year, 6'8" guy, D1 transfer, about 3 minutes of the game, he pulled him for shooting one mid-range shot. And when he was walking to the bench, again, that's the number one player in the year for Lynx last year. They're 31-0 or whatever. 30. And I watched him walk down. But don't ever take a mid-range shot. Bullshit. You got to the rim twice. You ain't guarding. Sat him down. Kids, listen real close. Because this is a college coach looking at another guy, and it's great for you recruits. That kid didn't budge. He didn't have bad body language. He pulled for his team right after that. That happened early in the semester. That happened when he was left home on a bus. It didn't happen that day. I know what that's like to be in 27. I know what it's like to try to win at that level. So when I saw that, gave him a rest, told his assistant to talk to him. Now remember, this is the player of the year in NAI last year that took that. If he can take it, and Coach Cantu at Judson gets on you, and there's eyes in the building, and you can't take it, you're done. Or at least at the money levels, or you're slipping to lower levels. They look at that really closely. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So that kid not only handled it, but when he got back in, he locked down, got 2 inbound steals, got to the basket 3 times. Other team timeout on a 10-0 run like that. That's called response. Too many kids would have eyes on them in select basketball exposure events or anything. That's why I run Uncommon. They react. And they're really good high school players. React means they can't take it. Respond means get to the screen harder. That's why I run my camps the way I do. And ain't to see if you're perfect. It's how you respond. Are you going to progress? Last play, next play. There's a lot of season left. And that just amazed me, that kid. But that's why you win. And that's what they look for in kids on the bench, demeanor, everything. Are you responding? Or are you reacting to your coach? Or to tough situations when you're down 8? And if you want to increase your recruitment, that's straight from the NABC Coach of the Year. And that's something I think is invaluable for players and parents to hear.
Well, I'm sure, I'm hoping that the audience does, that they take these nuggets and they use them to help them grow and get better, and to make sure that these are the things that their players improve on, and we don't see those things. So again, we got 30, starting next week on November 2nd, games start, man. Games and scrimmages start. So that's it. It's no more. You can't go back now. We got 30 plus games on the docket.
And on a positive note, what I love about Uncommon and what I've created through the lens of a college coach and my background and my experience, I mean, I just, that's the only thing I know, to stay in my lane. But I mean, it's helped a lot of kids. It's the ones that are kind of patient. And I'll talk about the San Antonio camp. Is 90% of these kids in this sport, they have all fall to really put themselves in position to be a college level recruit. If you want to push profiles, if you want to quit instant exposure, it's kind of like instant gratification. I do it different. I mean, I love, it'd be a good segue in the San Antonio game. I love what a couple coaches said about kids that did show up and show out that they saw in midsummer. Yeah. There's no tricks to it. They're taking the Uncommon approach. I mean, they're understanding my experience, my connections, but they understand and give me time. It's a longer process. If you want to secure the highest potential offer, we got to keep fixing things. You got to. I always told players, it's what you don't know that could be the difference if you're an elite varsity player. It's not your jump shot. So I do a lot of what you don't know through a 6-part series, through film sessions with players I work with. Good habits, bad habits. It's just elevating their game. That's what I really think is missing. And I want, even if you don't want to work with me or use me, or you want, somebody that's going to sell the dream and ice cream, I think that's an easiest sell I can do. The thing to me, coach, is it's a longer process. They don't take hard looks at high school kids till really mid-February. And then after the spring break ends, man, there's a lot of roster spots open. That's when you should be knowing what you do best, what they look for in my program. I'm talking about little things, what you can do moving forward, what games are going to best represent you and keep you on boards. And then we make our push. And that's been what I try to do with Uncommon. And again, that's for that kid that's dedicated and really is going to work, but he's not going to guess. And there's 4 or 5 layers to my program. So, which takes me to the San Antonio camp. If you have any questions about it, because I want to grow that at St. Mary's like I do with RCS in Houston.
Well, one, it's a great opportunity for our guys to be on the court there in St. Mary's and have Coach Bubba there right there watching them. So let's talk about it. What's the breakdown? I know you mentioned a little bit last week, the excitement of it, and was it What was the outcome?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm never disappointed. You're like, and again, this kind of goes back to what like Coach Wright's saying, like energy and all that. They have to bring energy. So for me, as good as I think that my service is, as proven as it is, if parents do research, I mean, it's still it's still kind of a balance and struggle, financially, because I do pay for college officials. I'm just the first. I just don't believe in doing things wrong. And I know it's on a college campus. I rent him, but the premise a month ago for the San Antonio camp, straight up premise first we can talk about was Coach Meyer like that's one offer. He said if I can offer one kid, these kids don't. It's not hurting St. Mary's. This is every coach across the country. You just heard Chris Wright's thought. It's like they can see some of the higher talented kids with 20 players. The premise was to get 20 players from San Antonio, and I was going to bring 20 top prospects from Houston, Dallas, East Texas that are the toughest kids that I think are D2 or NAI. And we were getting a nice balanced 40-player event to end this sucker. And Coach Meyer said straight up, man, that's perfect. I can just evaluate. If I get one offer out of this, we'll do it and do it again and do it again. And I said, I'm going to bring, I got one offer that I'm going to bring to this dang event. And so, but, that's really moving forward. That's still going to be the premise. Like really try to get 20 guys that have a shot and put them in a real setting to see if they're college ready. It's not going to hurt. So, and then I'll bring kids to Bubba that I think we go back to when we were little boys. I've known Coach Meyer for so long that that I put my name on that are from outside of San Antonio. Same thing I do with Mr. Hicks. I bring 18 top prospects, and then there's 64 kids from Houston. That showcase I run. We want to do that at St. Mary's to end fall camps. So that's a good part of it. The bad part is we didn't get to the cap. We have 21 players. The worst part of that, 7 are from San Antonio. And they've probably been to some elite camps with 95 guys. And even worse part to me that we have to get better at is St. Mary's was invited.
Well,
Not me. I mean, they had 20 spots. I had 20 spots. That was the premise. Bring them all together. Somebody's life could have changed. Or, I mean, we had a design and we had a hell of a staff too. So,
but that's a great part about this platform. Get the information out. It's still new though. I hear you what you're saying and what you're doing
my camps
is
aren't
needed.
that new. My camps aren't
Well,
that new.
well, again, getting the word out, people really, really getting behind it and making sure, like, hey, this is a good thing. Like you said, you talk to a few coaches at the high school level and got the word out. So again, education is the key to the success of this right here.
Well, no. Actually, I'm not going to put it on the bus, but some of the high school coaches, which is really still a challenge. I don't mind saying that. It's like, oh, you don't need to go to that show. You don't need to do that. I'm like, parents, if anybody's telling a child that, I don't say that to any child. Like, don't go. They ask advice. Then I don't know if that's really in the best interest of the kid. I mean, it should be a parent red flag. Do your research. I wasn't even calling. It was San Antonio. It was St. Mary's staff calling me. If somebody called me, if there was 20 spots for San Antonio, exclusive spots for San Antonio talent, juniors and seniors, I'm riding my bike there. I'm riding the wheel. I remember kids came from Denton, damn near Tyler, Texas, that I handpicked. So 14 of those spots were guys that drove a long way and stayed the night. So my camps are known here. It was some coaches that were saying, man, they're telling them. So it's a balance. But I'm like, man, that was such an opportunity, but we're not, that premise we're going to keep. And RCS has gotten better each year. I'll try to look at it and do it better. And I still want it to get better where we end fall camps. Man, that could really change some lives. And 20 spots are for San Antonio kids and 20. And remember, I had other coaches there. There was only 21 players in attendance. And that's where I want to encourage kids. Man, you wait late because that's what happens. They'll come to my spring camp like it's a one-day hit or miss. The same kids that were called by St. Mary's staff that I gave them a list that I liked at previous camps from San Antonio that I've seen, but I haven't seen at my camp. And they wanted to sit there and evaluate both. But there were kids that showed up and showed out and absolutely helped their cause. So I always focus on not what I don't have. When I was a coach, I never talked about a guy who's injured or a guy that was always shit. I never wasted energy on a guy that was holding us back. we try to fix our defense. So that mentality has helped me when I was disappointed and lost a little money by trying to do something great for the city. I can only lose so much money doing this and doing it here. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, I pay for the rent and everything, thinking that's for sure going to help 20 players and the city. 20. And here's some stats for you, because I was flabbergasted afterwards. There's 127 high schools, maybe a few more or less. I don't know when in the San Antonio and surrounding area. That's about 1,524 varsity players. Come on, man. Again, not me. The guys I were calling for Bubba that I love, that I put my name on, that are D2 top. It was supposed to be a nice balance for San Antonio kids that really have a shot, so he could see. Don't get scared of this. You're going to have to pass this test event so they can see if they're college tough. And 3 kids really helped their calls, and it's probably the best camp I've ever had as far as the staff. Like, they were engaged from start to finish. So, man, if nothing else, man, we made the day great for 21.
Do you mind mentioning those 3 kids' name, or is it something you want to just keep on the low, towards though we don't want to?
No, I mean, I'll show you.
Want to blast anybody, but at the same time, we can just kind of mention those guys and give them a shout out and
no, I mean,
they're on the right track.
I think the surprise of everybody. I mean, because Uncommon. I mean, I'm knock on wood, but I mean, he just so much different. The best thing was Coach Caldwell, who worked at summer camp out of Lamar University. Simply put, said, "Damn, that kid. That's what's uncommon." I mean, give credit to him, not me. And we've been doing some things and working, and he said that kid's 10 times better. I may go talk to Coach Brooks about it, you know. And middle of summer, he's like, oh, maybe NAI, DTU, going to the. But there's a growth. Daryl Banks is playing at a much higher level. I wouldn't be surprised by Christmas break, those who wait, that his ass ain't dominating at a higher level. And he's defending it. It's knowledge, it's film sessions, it's taking constructive criticism after the summer camp to his advantage and using that to grow his game. And his game has grown tremendously. So he's a local kid that showed up and showed out. And I don't know where to say that, but I know the notes on him, every coach in there wrote notes and liked him and have him at a higher level now. So great for that kid. Good for him. And it started in the summer when I said there was only 18 minutes today, Daryl, that I would have offered you when I was D2, D1. Let's grow off those 18 minutes. He took that to his advantage. It's not uncommon what I'm doing behind the scenes in my lane. I'm a coordinator. I'm not a trainer or anything. That's what I do. So the other one, I think from a junior standpoint, I'll give a shout out that's come to a couple of camps now, and I'm glad he has, is Amari Guerrero. He's a 26 that stood out. And I'll say this again and say it early. Any coach that overanalyzes 5'9", don't call me later, because I've had that happen with the kid out of Arkansas that was Amari size that everybody wanted after some EYBL. You better get Amari on your board. Like I told Coach Gibson, players are players. That kid's a player. 5'9" or 6'2" babies that get your ass beat. And then there's guys you can win with. In my camp, Amari embraces that. So I mean, it's 2 for 2. Winners win. Kid's a winner. I mean, he's got to fix some of his offensive decision making, but that's fixable. He could coach that, but he's a guy that just took over that day. And so the other guys I thought that stood out, one of them didn't make the top game. I don't know how he felt, but I called his coach afterwards. I think he's a real surprise. And I think the kid Marcus Johnson from Wagner, I think Marcus Johnson he didn't make the top game because he's still kind of trying to figure out, which is fine, but it's early. But he's just trying to figure out how to go from that piece guy, he's been on varsity 3, to the guy. I mean, Coach Clark talked about that. And that's why Coach Clark, he'll send his kids. I mean, he pushes his kids my way. And I appreciate that. And because he knows I'm going to be a second voice. All these parents went to college, but I'm going to be truthful with them. And his kids that have come out, they've gone on and played that I've helped. That ain't their obvious guys. And I told Marcus just what Coach Clark's trying to get him to do. If he does that, that kid's asleep. He got a real shot. He's got every physical tool. That's the next step for him. He's got to think like a key guy. And again, if he does that, that elevates your recruitment. And we spoke after the camp. And then, finally, I think, and I don't want to mention two Johnson kids, but I got to. That's the best I've seen Alias Isaac at any of my camps or anything. That's the toughest I've seen him play from start to finish. So I'm proud of the growth he's had. I think he's ready. Now I think he understands more. He was on that call last night. He was asking questions to Coach Wright about being undersized. He was getting reiterated what I've been pushing him in camps to do. But that was his best overall camp that I've seen him, and he's been to 3. So it's perfect timing for AI to really be locked in at a higher level. He's got a next step has to be vocal. So I think those guys really stood out to me locally. And again, one of them didn't make it, but in that small setting, you can still get a much more in-depth look. Sometimes you don't make the top 9, but I value college coaches inside outdoors, and they all have Marcus listed. So I want Marcus to take that and elevate his game and say, I should have been in the top game. And now stay consistent. If you can stay consistent, then great. So outside of that, I think, if you want to talk about post camp, like we talked about, I will, and then I can finish. But I'm still going to say that, man, it might have been the best event or at least premise in my head to help local kids. And yes, we got to grow, but there's enough people that know about Uncommon. There's a lot of lanes. There's a lot of gyms filled. When I go to showcase the fall ball, there was 20 spots for 1,524 high school varsity players. I don't know how many want to play college, but that's what Uncommon provides local talent. If you see the next camp and there's something that resonates, then don't miss it. I do it with the intent to help. And there was a lot of eyes on a small group of guys. A lot of guys helped their calls on Sunday. That's all I can control.
So I know you're not doing the camps anymore. Are you still doing the workouts? So I know we have our last session today, I believe.
Yeah, I had to move it from
tomorrow.
Wednesday. My dumb butt,
Okay.
man, like five weeks ago when I booked October, I thought high school practices started on the 25th. I really did. So, I don't know. I didn't look at the UIL count. I just thought it was the 25th for some reason. I'm not sure if I heard that. And so it was designed for Wednesdays, but we're doing it tonight from 7 to 9 o'clock. And we're going to do, the last thing I do is I always do a full-blown skills test. It's not the most exciting, but it's data. Data doesn't lie. And if you leave, if you tested 8 weeks ago, which about 12 kids did, the whole point of doing it 8 weeks later and kind of an academy setting is you really know who's parents too really know who's putting in the work. If your scores are the same 8 weeks later, you ain't putting in enough work.
Right.
But you got time. And don't get mad at this guy for getting this or I'm good at shooting. Work matters. I mean, it shows it's data based. So the whole point for the returners over 8 weeks, I've had 9 to 11 kids that have come to every session. My hope is that all their scores have elevated. That's the whole point of doing it in the beginning and the end. If it's a new player that kind of came in late or mid-level, the skills assessment is a great resource before high school practice starts to identify areas you're strong, areas you're weak, right? I mean, there's everything I can do to take out voices and put it all on a player. And moving forward, I'll give them workouts for every position, the assessment, the results, and things they can do about it in the first semester. So basically, it's your guide to what you really are and what you're not. And I tell kids, until you're really that, and you can put in enough work to test at that level, shooting the ball, you should be penetrating. You should be defending. And again, that's going to help you increase your role in high school first. And then potentially, if you want to play college, you got time to work on your game. So tonight, 7 to 9, it's open to any players that, want to come out. If you got players, like I said, that are interested, man, if you bring a group out, man, I'll give your kids a group discount. I'll give them, because I think anybody can benefit from, testing tonight before high school practice starts tomorrow. So, but we'll be at the Gervin Center tonight from 7 to 9.
Okay, I'll make sure I get that information out ASAP. So what if a parent or player wants to get involved or get information and take the Uncommon approach? how they do about doing that, Russell?
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting. I should have done this the last call. I'm just gonna share. I'm not gonna do too much, but I think that a lot of people know about my camps, but and the reason I don't do it is because I'm not like an NCSA or mass athlete marketing company. I have a site for my recruits where college coaches go and find my recruits, and players have access to every coach's email, every college coach's social media, their player card that it basically is filled with potential college level recruits. College coaches evaluate players' film. Those are things that I do. And parents, like I said, you can kind of look through there and do the reviews. But if you want to book a free call and learn more, if you're paying and you're saying I got robbed by so and so, my services offer like, you know, a lot of layers that every player could benefit from. If basketball is your primary sport, you say I want to play college, and that's fine because we do it differently and give you a lot of things that are personalized. You can go down to the bottom of ucexposurerecruits.com and you can book a call free and ask. You can learn more about the program. And as you know, James was on this roster, and this roster's new. By the first high school game, after I add this last report and have some calls with kids from this last camp, that I thought instead of rankings, my roster, coach comes through town. Hey, who's your best force, coach? Of course I have research. Of course I'm gonna push my kids. He's got to have the knowledge. I can text his card. It's not a player profile. It's not random. It's my notes. I'm putting him at the level. That's my name. If you can see that, coach. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's
it
an
does.
easy way to research a real lead. And that's all coach, Wright said. If coach texts me a kid, I'm going to look at him. So when I think a kid's ready for his program, it's about fit. That's what I do different. Instead of rankings, these are all kids, kind of like the ones that I'm going to call for my camp yesterday. Now I got time to help them. Oh, we got time now. That's why I was so disappointed because, man, you had one offer. Coach Bubba already offered one player. So I'm bringing an offer to this camp. And there wasn't enough, like I said, local kids. But that's where I think where I am proud of, and I'm showing this here. Hopefully, give this a little love. This is my alumni. This is the last 2 years. So if you don't think the formulas work, in January, I put my notes on you based on what you're doing, coach.
Yeah.
I ain't fooling. So what's your team record? How much is your defense improved? What's your stats? How vocal are you? What level are you playing at? So we have 2 layers to my program. The fall, kind of like my camps, a lot of prep for the players. Yes, I'm promoting them. The spring, I flip the script when college coaches need leads, and I push them daily, individually, because that's what you are. So in other words, my alumni the last 2 years, these are my final notes. That's the level I think they're playing at. Now I'm just getting an offer from D1, and 90% signed, not the fake offer you see on this social media, blessed to receive an offer, the JV grants. They signed at the exact level in January I put them. At that point, that's the level you're playing at. And now I'm targeting fits. So if you want to research results, or if they don't know your child in a database, I still say, what the hell are you paying for? I know every one of these kids, and I give them a gap to grow their own recruitment and a strategy. But that's why I'm proud of what's created for the kids willing to work. From Arkansas, 90% signed right here, guys, at the level. And I put my notes in, guys, so you can see. I'm not selling that. I'm just people. It's balance of profile. That's my rankings. I just want to close the gap for a coach to find film, see if he's academically eligible, and match make starting in January. And I give you that gap, if that makes sense, with Uncommon to get all that behind the scenes, like Daryl has done. His defense and rebounding has now matched his offensive skill set. There's no tricks to Uncommon. Good for him. I am pulling that. He crushes it in those areas and secures a higher potential offer now that he's, taking the Uncommon approach, along with every kid that's in there.
Okay. Okay. And then, so what's next as far as for you? I know you said you mentioned, the fall.
Working with you.
Well, yeah, hey, we're going to keep doing this. This is going to keep happening. We're going to be again. November 2nd is big because the actual season kicks off. We got a bunch of scrimmages we're going to be at, and then in return, the November 9th is our big game day because that's the kickoff. Also, Judson is playing Wagner that day. So that game will be live streamed from our Super Sports Media site. That'll be our
Awesome.
first live stream game of the season. That's our game of the week right there. So a lot of good stuff's coming up. It's funny that you mentioned Johnson. We got Johnson ranked as far as that's our number one team in district, our preseason ranking for each district. And I believe they're 28, and we have them ranked as number one. They're our number one team. I think they're going to give a lot of people problems.
I'm for everybody in the city, coach, but I mean, I really think that part of the uncommon deal, and it's happened for Logan at still, as well, who's been doing this for 2 years, and just different players like that. I can go back and I mean, it's just so many layers. I just think there's going to be 2 or 3 kids at Johnson that have since the summer camp have been in the program. And it's not me. It's just they have a better understanding. They're willing to work. They've taken insights straight from college coaches outside of me, behind the scenes. They've done film sessions of areas that really are poor. And that means I think they're all going to be playing. I think a couple of kids are going to surprise some guys and be playing at a little bit higher level. And that's the whole goal, is maximize your potential. What happened to that? That means your D1 potential, maximize your potential. Basketball is your love. It's really the bottom line of uncommon. Yes, it's led to results and offers, but exposure comes with maximizing. What does that mean when you leave a showcase? Does somebody talk to you? What does that mean? A lot of guys that have been going through this. I think Johnson's got a couple of guys that are really playing at a higher level now, and I hope to see him do well.
Yeah, I got that wrong. It's District 27, by the way. I said 28 by mistake. That's what they were last year. It was District 27. Johnson's in. I got them ranked number one.
By the way, I never want to come across negative. I think kids that really want it, man, the truth and being genuine, they embrace it. Like the kids that really want to play college basketball embrace uncommon. From Louisiana to Arkansas, the moms that were on the call last night that need real help. I mean, there was a lot of people on the call, Coach Wright. They embrace it. And like, my boy Tate, he went to golf. He's all excited. He has these personal lessons. Now, golf's too damn expensive, but he has these personal lessons with the guy who's supposed to be the number one golf coach in America. And Tate was playing really well, and he's changed everything about his swing. So he's real uncomfortable right now. And so now he's got to go back and do what he did over the last year again. But if he loves it, I told him, I said, well, yeah, I mean, you're learning from a guy who obviously has put people in the PGA Tour. If that's your goal, you're going to have to swing that new swing another full year now to get used to that. But then you're going to be 10 times better in a year. Not because his first tournament, he was all mad. It's a good example that he had the best score at Piper, and he's been playing. I've been playing a year and a half. All his teammates have been playing for 6, 7, 8 years. So he saw this coach that's really demanding, and now he's hitting the ball all over the place. But that's part of it, man. But I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you getting me on here, and I'm hoping that man, more and more kids, as they see future events and future potential opportunities, it doesn't take away from your trainer, strength coach, whatever. But absolutely, I want to take you from paying NCSA to somebody in the goddamn Chicago that don't know your child.
Right.
And if your child is only going to basketball practice, that's okay. Don't pay for anything exposure. Nothing that's called exposure. If he's just going, he likes to play basketball, and leave it at that. I wouldn't pay for that golf coach unless Tate was closing down golf shops at night. It's nighttime before he asked me to pick him up. I wouldn't pay.
Yeah.
But he's walking the walk. But that's just me. And I appreciate what you're doing and giving me a chance, hopefully, to reach more local kids, because I can be hands-on. I can do more film sessions. I can do things that I do that is not out there for San Antonio.
Right, right. Well, again, that's one thing I love about this city. It's a trust thing. It's a trust, and hey, that's why I say it's about education. The more we educate, and the more people you start putting in front of them, and they starting to see, oh, this kid got a chance. This kid got a chance. And then it's going to grow. It's going to grow. It's just like when I was the Sharks. Man, it was so hard in the beginning, and then before you know it, we were, for a minute, we were a nice little name in the city. Same thing, man. Uncommon. The approach and how we do this is gonna eventually be a common name in the households. And the reason why is
and
I
please,
believe in what you're doing.
and please, I mean this all my heart, man. Please ask anybody wants to do a free seminar, a team, a local team, a young team after they see this. Man, I do seminars for, in other areas. I mean, I run a future prospect camp, but there's, young, you can email me and text me. Hey, there's a team interested, there's kids. That's just understanding and coming out and speaking for an hour on the recruit, like Coach Wright speaks to my guys. And, I mean, I'll be glad to do that because I want more people to really understand it. So they understand it's not a conflict with, other people. And man, we should all be in it to be helping kids. And I could say that with all my heart. I've kept true to that. I've kept the cost affordable, but I haven't been disgenuine if you're not doing what it takes. And that's the difference. But, it can start with the seminar. Maybe two parents can save thousands of dollars and kind of take the uncommon approach and see how their child grows. Like I'm waiting to see how Tate grows. Now he has to go start all over.
Right.
So, we do an evaluation. Get after it.
That's the whole purpose of the investment. That's why I always tell people, man, play a sport. You have to, if you want your kid to be the best, or your kid wants to be the best, because it should be them wanting to be the best, not you wanting them to be the best. It starts with a small investment, and that small investment can grow into something that is definitely worth their while and open up a lot of doors. Because, like I tell some of my parents, either you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. Which one you want to pay? You want a D1 or D2 where they pay for everything, or you want to not do it and then go ahead and allow them to have to take grants and things out like that. It's up to you. You got to invest in it. Either way you do it. Basketball, football, golf, whatever the sport is, you got to invest in it, man. And that's just point blank, period. So
yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. Like with parents, like before you pay, if I do a seminar, I'll book a call. Like, I kind of have it where I'm really, really focused on the growth. They need to see it because that's the roadmap. So you're saving money. That's what I mean. Don't jump to Z if your player is not even an elite varsity player. Go from A, B, C, D, and then I may upcharge when you're college ready. Every player that's from Cameron Roper Ball, and that's all they've done. Logan Gonzalez, that's all they've done to save money. That's smart. They're invested in, so in other words, if their child is just dedicated and wants to learn, I want to save you money, but you got to trust. I ain't pushing. I mean, you do your research. It's a Cameron Roper, Yashi McKenzie. Those are the guys that did A, B, and C, and the families that trusted me. And then D, when I made the push, we got like you said, the highest potential money, but they were dedicated. I implore you, if you're paying somebody out there for just the profile, where's the A, B, and C? Where's your A, B, and C? That's what my dues are for. Like you should, you know what I mean? And that's why I'm passionate about the D part's easy. I have 30 years of relationships. I mean, they wouldn't be doing phone calls and working my camps, to get you real looks. The A, B, and C is what you're investing in. If your child's serious about playing basketball at the highest level. And that's what I do really more than anything outside of camps.
Let's keep it going, man. Next week we'll have another good topic to talk about and make sure we promote that. Again, we'll be a week away from the actual first games being played. So, hey, man, let's keep this going, okay?
Yes, sir. And please, if you have a group of young kids, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, 7th, I see y'all over there and out there, man, that don't know about tonight, and they're one of your group, or they familiar with Coach Talley or Super Sports Media or whatever, then man, I will give them a half off discount to come get tested tonight. It's my last night. I don't want, and plus maybe it's a lead into working with future prospects, you know, moving forward, depending on who shows up 1 day a week. That's that kid I'm talking about, the ABC.
ABC.
And my boy Oates, I don't know if you know Isaiah Oates, I don't know if he came through your deal or saw you, but he got the best score of everything last week. He beat 4 seniors out of kids in 8th grade. I mean, I'm just fine.
I'm gonna check this Isaiah Oates out. I'm gonna check him out.
He got the best. I said, I mean, and there's 6 or 7
And
guys.
what time is it? What time is it start tonight?
7 to 9 o'clock tonight.
7 to 9. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
I was
Okay.
so happy for Isaiah last year. He's smiling ear to ear because he. I mean, I ain't gonna call no names of seniors because 4 of the seniors are probably end up on a college roster. And you know, in some of the challenges last week, he wore them out. That kid's just getting better and better. So, I mean, I'm like, shoot. So that's what I mean. If there's some kids 7th, 8th, 9th grade that want to come get or even 10th grade, man, 7 to 9 o'clock at Gervin, they say they're with you or referred by you, man, I'll give them half off. They can work. They can get a $25 to get a skills test, results, and a college prep position specific workout to fix what areas you're strong and weak.
Hey man, I appreciate you again, as usual.
You got it, Coach Talley. Thanks, man. I'm gonna get back to this
Thank you, brother.
recording.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you, brother.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya.